Hey, thanks for tuning in. This is Kim the Dragon Young at Dragon Billiards Instruction, a PBIA accredited training academy located in Vestal, New York. I'm also a PBIA Master Instructor and ACS Level 4 Instructor. Today what I want to talk to you is about practice routines. A good instructor is not just going to teach you what to practice, but they'll also teach you how to practice it. Because after all, practice makes permanent, not perfect. And while you're practicing, if you're practicing the wrong way or without purpose, you may be rehearsing the curse, or in other words, making the bad behaviors better as well. Because whatever you're doing, if you're doing it the correct way, you'll reinforce that behavior. If you're doing it the wrong way, you'll reinforce that behavior. So today what we're going to do is we're going to look at a very basic practice routine that also includes something that I like to call punishment drills. Some of the reasons why people come to see us as far as the mental game goes is I've got competitive anxiety. I shoot really, really well in practice, or when I'm shooting with my friends, I'm lights out. I'm the guy that always wins, but when I go into a tournament, suddenly it's like I forgot how to play pool. How can we fix that? Well, there's nothing I can do, and to my knowledge, no other instructor can either, to take the pressure away from competition. In fact, sometimes that makes you do better. And so maybe we wouldn't even want to, but what we can do is add some pressure to your practice to kind of close the gap between what it feels like to have a consequence of having to go sit down while your opponent runs out and what it feels like in practice when, well, okay, I failed, I'll just reset it. There's no real consequence there. So let's take a look at one of these types of things. A good practice routine is going to have a purpose and a timeline. The timeline is important because without a timeline, all you're doing is having a dream. And the dream's over as soon as you wake up. So for this particular practice routine, maybe my timeline is 15 minutes. Of course, if I go to work 8 to 5, I'm going to give my job everything I can from 8 until 5. But at 5 o'clock, hey, I've done all I can. Time to wash my hands of it and I'll go back to it tomorrow. Same thing goes with practice. If you go in there without having some sort of a timeline of what you want to accomplish and a clear set goal, this is what I'm going to do today. I want to use SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So in 15 minutes, I'm going to learn how to send the cue ball at the center of the object ball while having the cue ball spin backwards, aka drag shot, and I will be accurate enough to be able to send that cue ball back off of the center of this object ball 9 out of 10 times. And that's what I'm going to learn in 15 minutes. If I can't do that in 15 minutes, maybe I need longer, but I'll try that again tomorrow, and eventually I'll be able to get there. But I have to go into it with some realistic goals, including specifically what I'm going to accomplish and specifically in what amount of time. So let's say that my intention here is to have the cue ball draw back off the center of this object ball to come back here into this pocket. And each time I do it, my ball comes back to the left. So I'll try it again. And I'm going to remember what my coach told me, having a good practice, a pre-shot routine, use good mechanics, make sure my alignment's in place. But I remember during my lesson, I kept going back to the left. So we'll try this again. And sure enough, the cue ball is going to come back to the left again. So rather than just walking away from this as a failure, what I'm going to be doing is logging my results. So now out of 2 shots, I'm 2 to the left. Now if I continue going to the left and trying to beat this drill in a submission, you know what's going to happen is I'm just going to rehearse the curse and make that a habit. So my third shot here, I'm going to do something called don't rehearse the curse. I'm going to specifically aim to the right. No matter what happens, even if a ball goes into this pocket, what my original goal was, I'm going to consider that to be a failure because my goal right now is to make the ball come back over here to the right. So I adjust to the right, and the ball comes straight back. That is a failure. 2 shots ago, that wouldn't have been a failure, that would have been a success. But now I'm at 3 for 3 failures. And in my log of my practice, out of my 10 shots, I'm going to put in there 3 of them went to the left. So now I'm going to try it again. Once again, my goal is to go to the right. And I'm going to learn where my head alignment needs to be so that I can start doing that. Now I've had my first success because I actually did what I was trying to do. So the ball went to the right. And maybe to me, that looks like 1 millimeter to the right. And maybe when I was over here, that looks center to me. It gives me an idea. I have to aim for something in between. Maybe to me, center is actually 0.5 millimeter to the right of what I think my perception is. For right now, we're going to have to compensate because right now I'm by myself. My instructor can't help me put my vision center back over that cube. So I'm going to learn where the true center of that object ball is based on I know what too much to the right is and I know what too much to the left is. So if I aim 0.5 millimeter to the right, then that should put me in the center. And eventually our perception and reality will become one and the same. It's kind of like the idea that my girlfriend thinks I'm going to hit every mailbox while I'm driving. And when she's driving, I feel like she's going to hit every mailbox. I'm not used to being in the passenger seat. That doesn't mean that my perception is wrong. That doesn't mean that her perception is wrong. It's just the way that we see things from each other's chairs. So now I'm going to aim to what looks to me like 0.5 millimeter to the right. Okay, so I'm already starting to make some corrections to what my vision center is. My head must be changing. My head alignment is probably automatically moving because it wants the perception and the reality to be the same. So 0.5 millimeter to the right was too much. Now I get to tighten it up a little bit more. Or maybe I can line up dead center and have it start working. Oops, dead center is still to the left to me, which means maybe now I have to line it up to a 1/4 tip to the right. And repeatedly, as we're doing this, I've only had one success so far out of all these shots. And we'll try it again. All right, so now I finally figured out what center looks like to me. So I'll do this for 10 shots. And during those 10 shots, I'm going to be recording all the times I've succeeded and all the times I've failed. So let's say out of that 10 shots, I've only succeeded one time. I'm not just going to keep doing that drill over and over again trying to beat it into submission. I will lose that fight every single time. The drill will always win. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something called a punishment drill. Punishment drill is the concept that in real-time play there's a consequence to having to sit down and watch your opponent run out on you. It's not fun to sit down and watch your opponent play. Well, maybe that drill where I get to pocket balls is fun to me. A drill that I don't get to pocket balls is not. And it's also the idea that I'm not allowed to do that again until I succeed at this. Kind of like you're not allowed to get back on the table again until you succeed in showing that you can sit down and watch your opponent. So maybe my punishment drill is the kiss back drill. The kiss back drill has the center of it has the object ball frozen to the rail. The idea is having a straight on cue ball with it, and I'm going to learn how to send the center of the cue ball at the center of the object ball. So with the kiss back drill, it's kind of highlighting what my problem is. A good punishment drill is going to reinforce the behavior you're trying to correct in the first place. For me, that is trying to learn the center of the object ball. So when I do my kiss back drill, if I'm just a little bit off, the ball really comes screaming back. Much larger issue. It really highlights that. So I'll learn how to do the kiss back drill properly, which teaches me where the center of the object ball is and the center of the cue ball, so that my cue ball comes back and touches my tip. And when I'm able to do this, the number of times that I failed over here, let's say I failed over here 9 times, so I've got to do 9 successful kiss backs before I'm allowed to try that drill again. And each time we'll call it a success because the tip comes back and touches our ball. And so now I've completed my 9 successful kiss backs over there. And now what I can do is I'm allowed to try this drill again and see, did I make some progress? I sure did. So with having a good practice routine, having a purpose going into it, recognizing not to rehearse the curse, and using SMART goals to set what our practice routine is going to look like, whether that be short term or long term, we're going to be able to make some huge results. I hope this works for you. Thanks for tuning in. As always, train better, do better, and shop better at DragonBilliardsInstruction.com.